Residents of Kenosha, Wisconsin have dealt with everything from COVID to violence in their streets. The area is so in focus that both President Trump and Joe Biden have made campaign stops there. NBC News political reporter Shaq Brewster tells us what's top of voters' minds in Kenosha as they head to the polls.
A swing county in an even bigger battleground state, struck by riots and reeling from the devastation. In the middle of a global public health crisis. Kenosha, Wisconsin, the only Kenosha in America, but its story is one that has become all too familiar in recent months. Following the shooting of Jacob Blake, protesters took to the streets in late August to fight against police brutality. But the situation soon turned dangerous when a group of rioters set the city on fire. Police later said over half of those arrested were from out of town. Uptown Kenosha was hit hardest.
Well, it was scary. Really, unbelieving at some of the stuff that was going on. 75% of the problem of the devastation was in Uptown.
Paul owns the Steampunk General Store.
Take a 100-year-old novel, get Tim Burton to do his weird stuff on it, that's steampunk.
His store was just less than 100 feet from where the fire stopped.
This is an old building here that burned, during the riots, and we got a couple around the back of the store that also burned during the riots.
Since the riots, the influx of customers to the area has dropped significantly, affecting the businesses that are still left standing. One of those is Sugarbox Play Space, a children's play area and ice cream store just 2 doors down from Paul.
This entire area for the stores that did survive, you might as well had gotten hit because you really weren't seeing any business. No one really came for about the next almost 2 weeks. The riots tore away half the city, and the COVID is hurting the other half that usually help uplift or that would have uplifted the people who were hurt from the riots.
In the 2012 election, Kenosha County went blue by 13 percentage points. In 2016, it flipped and went red by 1. Both candidates made it a point to visit Kenosha following the unrest. President Trump visited the areas of devastation and small business owners affected by the riots. Former Vice President Biden visited the family of Jacob Blake and community leaders.
I am undecided still.
Yeah, I'm voting for Joe Biden.
So are voters here focused on the issues of race and law and order, or is COVID the leading issue in this area?
The way Trump responded to the coronavirus is ridiculous. He's trying to get rid of national insurance at a time when we're in a pandemic. It's like, that's insane. I think the COVID and the riots opened a lot of people's eyes, so they'll be voting in a way to help make things better.
But for Shari, it's not so simple.
The riots and the protests definitely don't affect my decision as far as who I'm going to choose for the election. I do not think the way that the COVID and everything was handled affects my vote either. We're all responsible for ourselves. We do as we need to maneuver. No, it's bigger than that for me. It feels like right now Kenosha is very undecided, in my opinion. Like, that's what I get from it. I've heard both sides of the spectrum.
I think we'll go blue again. I hope so. It's hard to tell. The other day there was a Trump parade going by, a bunch of people in the cars with flags.
In the meantime, there's still a crisis to survive.
The surge in Wisconsin for the COVID cases you can definitely see the effects. It feels like everyone's asleep. It's just been so quiet.